What's up, friends? Happy Saturday. Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack a Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. A fun, breezy episode today. I've done this the last couple of years. It's always fun. We know the 53-man roster now. So let's go back and look at the initial 53-man roster as they went into week one against the Chicago Bears last year, comparing it to the week one 53-man roster as they get set to go to Brazil and face the Eagles this year, and see which one is better. And I like to think that I'm a fair judge here, and we'll try to be not biased towards the current version over the last version. And there's going to be some very interesting discussions that take place. So we will see what positions they are better at, which they are worse at, which ones maybe remain to be seen, and which ones where maybe we just easily call it a stalemate. So let's start right away at the quarterback position. Relatively easy. Last year was Jordan Love and Sean Clifford. This year is Jordan Love and Malik Willis. Now, let's start with the backup first. That's probably a little bit easier here, just because obviously it's Jordan Love to Jordan Love. But you had Sean Clifford last year, rookie, fifth-round pick, probably was not quite ready to be the backup, and we probably know that even better now because he's not ready to be the backup now in year two. In fact, he's now on the practice squad in year two. So that was probably a bit aggressive to have him as the true backup in 2023. Now, we don't know quite yet what Malik Willis will be as a Green Bay Packer. He just was acquired by the team. He had a pretty nice preseason in Tennessee. I think you would be hard-pressed to say that rookie Sean Clifford was a better backup than current Malik Willis. I don't know that anyone would want to make that argument. If you want to say, hey, it's one unknown versus another unknown, let's call that even, okay, I would still go pretty aggressively in the direction that year three Malik Willis, with all of his athletic ability, is probably going to be a better backup than rookie Sean Clifford. And the reason I'm even more convicted in that is because the Packers had the choice between this Malik Willis or second-year Sean Clifford, and they very clearly went with Malik Willis. So I think the Packers' backup quarterback, at least in some capacity, is slightly better than it was last year. And then let's talk Jordan Love. Jordan Love, first-year starter, had no idea what to expect. You saw some early struggles through the first half of the season, both with him and, of course, the offense as a whole. But now we saw the vision with Jordan. We know what he is capable of. He is expected to be the Jordan Love that we saw at the second half of last season. It is always going to be that perfect? Probably not, but we know that that exists. And I think we would probably be expecting more of that second half of the year version of Jordan Love than what we saw early on. So I would say pretty easily that this Jordan Love, with just more experience, more snaps, more repetitions, more confidence, is probably better than 2023 Jordan Love. And obviously we already went over the backup quarterback that we take Willis over Clifford. So for me, quarterback, a huge check in the 2024 version. Running back's interesting. This is a tough one to parse out. The only player that is still on the roster from 2023 at the running back position, Emmanuel Wilson. Didn't see that coming. If I would have told you last year at this time of Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and Emmanuel Wilson, that only Emmanuel Wilson would be on the roster in 2024, not sure you probably would have believed me. But gone are Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Dillon obviously on season-ending IR. Aaron Jones, a member of the Minnesota Vikings. In are Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd, third-round pick. So would you rather have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon or Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lloyd? We can make the small argument that 2024 Emmanuel Wilson with a bit more experience is better than 2023 version. They're both still pretty raw and inexperienced. They're both talented. I think we'll just call that one a draw at this point. The Marshawn Lloyd versus A.J. Dillon one is interesting. Let's start there. I would argue that you take the upside of Marshawn Lloyd there, but A.J. Dillon, much better pass protector, can catch the ball to the backfield, although Lloyd certainly can do that as well. Lloyd is definitely an upside unknown, meaning we know what we think he's capable of, but we don't know what he's going to be. We don't have any real feel for what type of running back he's going to be in the NFL. Whereas A.J. Dillon, the upside wasn't there, but he was a known commodity. You know what you're going to get. You're not going to get a dynamic running back, but you're going to get somebody who does everything pretty well, catches the ball to the backfield okay, can run between the tackles a little bit, and then is pretty darn good at pass protection. How you want to weigh that out is up to you. I would probably rather have, and you guys know how I feel about this, I want playmakers at the playmaker positions, and Marshawn Lloyd is more of a playmaker. So I know he's a bit more of an unknown, but I'll give me the unknown with higher upside that I think can maybe impact this offense a little bit more than what we saw from A.J. Dillon, or even we're expecting out of A.J. Dillon in 2023. So I will go Lloyd there. The Jones-Jacobs conversation we've had before, it's a difficult conversation to parse out. Do you want the Aaron Jones that we saw and knew that we were capable of getting in 2023 that was super dynamic, could make things happen out of nowhere, and really was the engine of the offense? Or do you want somebody that maybe that we know is capable of that? I will say this once again, Josh Jacobs 2022 was better than any year that Aaron Jones has ever had, but Aaron Jones through the entirety of his career was just constantly really freaking good. But he had 3 injuries a season ago. Obviously, we didn't know that at the beginning of 2023, but he was getting a little bit more up there in age, whereas Josh Jacobs, a little younger, a little healthier, and a little bit more of that bell cow. I'm going to, I think, ultimately call this one a draw, just because, again, Aaron Jones, we know every year what you're going to get out of him. And I would probably take 2023 Aaron Jones out of, a little bit more of a mystery box of 2024 Josh Jacobs. I'm okay with the Dillon Lloyd, swap, knowing that Dillon can give you that pass pro and Emmanuel Wilson is the same. But I mean, if you want to go here, 2024 Packers, and say Jacobs is going to be, again, more that bell cow, can do everything, is going to be healthier more, I will absolutely understand and accept that argument. If you want to say Lloyd's going to be better than Dillon, I will absolutely respect and accept that argument. And I will absolutely accept that Wilson could be better in 2024 than what he was in 2023 as well. So I think, again, I will call it a draw for the sake of this. I think you could make a strong argument, though, for 2024. And I think you probably could make an argument for 2023 based on Aaron Jones and just how talented he is. But I think that's a little bit harder to do. So I'm still going to go draw here because I have so much reverence and respect for Aaron Jones and what he is capable of and what he can do at any given moment. But we'll call this one a draw. Wide receiver, there's only one change. Watson, Reed, Wicks, Dobbs, and Heath all on the opening roster last year and on the opening roster this year. The only change is Samori Toure to Bo Melton. So this is a very clear and obvious 2024 answer, right? Melton is better than Toure. And again, we know that because they just had that choice and chose Melton over Toure. And that was not even a close comparison. And everyone else you're expecting to be a step better in 2024. Watson, hopefully healthier and better. Jaden Reed, better in year 2. Wicks, better in year 2. Dobbs looks better in year 3. Malik Heath looks better in year 2. So everyone should, hopefully, fingers crossed, continue to progress. And Melton is just a better new guy than what Samori Toure was in that 6th role a season ago. Tight end, it's another one where you've got 3 of the same. Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, and Ben Sims, all the same players. The only difference is you had Josiah DeGuara last year, no Josiah DeGuara or any replacement for him this year. I'm still going 2024 here. First of all, I don't think losing Josiah DeGuara is actually a negative here, no disrespect meant, but I think that they can fill those snaps with guys like Tucker Kraft and Ben Sims or others and get a better result out of that. I think they're going to have more playmakers on the field, which I think is a good thing. And I expect Musgrave to be better in year 2. I expect Kraft to be a lot better in year 2 from where he was early last year, because we saw it in the second half of last year. I think Ben Sims can take and will take a step as well. So this is another one there where even though there's one fewer player and Josiah DeGuara is no longer on the team, I'm going to go with the 2024 version because I do expect all 3 of those guys that are returning to be better than their 2023 counterparts. Offensive line, another really interesting discussion. So Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, Josh Myers, Elton Jenkins, and Sean Ryan are all back. So 5 of the 10 are apples to apples. Now, Zach Tom was really good last year. He's going to be, I think, even better this year, but at least the same. Rasheed Walker is going to take a pretty big step from where he was as a second-year player last year, where you didn't know what you had, and early in the year it was a struggle, and now he looks like a really good left tackle. Myers is probably the same. Elton Jenkins is probably the same. Sean Ryan, I think, is going to be better in year 3 than what he was in year 2. So I think there's progress with the players that are carried over from 2023 to 2024 as a whole. So here's your question. The other 5, David Bakhtiari, John Runyon Jr., Royce Newman, Yosh Nijman, and Caleb Jones. Those are your 5. Now, we cannot, for the sake of argument here, go back with the benefit of hindsight and say, well, Bakhtiari only played 1 game. We didn't know that. We don't know. Maybe this year there's going to be a player that's an absolute stud on this team that only plays one game. Knock on wood, hopefully not. But we don't know what the injury situation is going to look like. So we can't hold the Bakhtiari injury against it for the sake of this debate as you go in with the 53-man roster, right? If we're just basing it on initial 53. So Bakhtiari is a pretty big player to have that's no longer there in this, for the sake of this argument. Royce Newman, I don't think anyone's losing any sleep over that loss. Caleb Jones, same thing. Yosh Nijman, I would even argue, I think he was overrated in Green Bay. He's a fine, semi-rotational offensive tackle, swing tackle. I think they can replace that relatively easily. And then John Runyon Jr., starting caliber player, really struggled the vast majority of the season, did play better towards the end, had a little bit of an up and down career in Green Bay, but was at times a starting caliber player for the Packers. Meanwhile, the five that those players the five replacement players are Andre Dillard, Jacob Monk, Jordan Morgan, Kadeem Telfort, and Travis Glover. And that's just a hodgepodge of a mystery box. Andre Dillard, can he be the Yosh Nijman? Yeah, I think he can maybe be a little bit of that Yosh Nijman. Maybe a little bit worse, but let's just say that's apples to apples. Can Jacob Monk be John Runyon Jr.? Maybe. I would probably take Runyon over that, but I think that's maybe closer than what people would say. Kadeem Telfort is probably the new Caleb Jones, so no question there. I will rather have Travis Glover than Royce Newman. I know that they're different positions, but I'll take that. And then you have David Bakhtiari versus Jordan Morgan. And as much as we're expecting from a first-round pick in Jordan Morgan and think he can be good, we're just taking Bakhtiari in that conversation. Now, you can add into the argument that Bakhtiari's had a ton of injuries and you don't know what you're going to get out of him going into that season, right? You didn't know if you would get 1 game or 16 games or anything in between. You've probably thought maybe somewhere in the middle, but you were probably expecting a decent amount of games overall. I would just say, I think with Bakhtiari, Nijman, and Runyon being a little bit more of known commodities versus anything that you're getting out of Dillard, Monk, Morgan, Telfort, or Glover, I've got to go the 2023 offensive line. I do think it's close. I don't think it's a massive downgrade by any stretch of the imagination. And of course, it's not really a downgrade at all if we're being real with the benefit of hindsight, because Bakhtiari only played 1 game. And you take Bakhtiari out of that equation, and it's just easily 2024. So in the sake of this argument, because again, if we're taking it just at the initial 53 and saying, hey, Bakhtiari was there, then I'm going 2023. But in reality, we know Bakhtiari was, basically fool's gold. He didn't really exist more than 1 game. And for that reason, I would go 2024. But again, for the sake of this, we will go 2023. So on offense, we had quarterback 2024, running back even, wide receiver 2024, tight end 2024, offensive line 2023 with a little bit of an asterisk next to it. Defensive line, this is just basically a draw here. It is the exact same 5 people: Slayton, Brooks, Wyatt, Wooden, and Clark. Now, if you want to make the argument with this new defense that guys like Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, all of them maybe are going to step up and be better in 2024, I would absolutely listen to that. Would I also listen to that Brooks, Wyatt, and Wooden, and maybe even Slayton should be better with a year more of experience? Yeah, I would buy that argument as well. Kenny Clark, I would be willing to bet you, is probably almost the identical player that he was this past season. He is 1 year older, but I don't think there's really any signs of slowing down there for Kenny. So if you want to say 2024, be my guest. And that's probably a little bit more the right answer just because you're expecting some progression here. But since it is the exact same 5 players, I'm going to go break even. But Devontae Wyatt could really be the one that takes that into the 2024 category. You know what? Screw it. I'm going slight edge to 2024 in large part to Devontae Wyatt in this new defense. So slight edge 2024. Edge. Last year, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Kingsley Enagbare, LVN, and Brenton Cox, all the same guys. And then Justin Hollins was the 6th. This year, outside of the 5 that we just discussed that are all the same, Aaron Mosby is the new guy. So they basically swapped out Justin Hollins for Aaron Mosby. I think we would take Mosby in that situation, but again, you don't know what to expect from Mosby. You didn't really know what to expect out of Justin Hollins last year, so you can do that more of a toss-up. Should Brenton Cox be a little bit better in year 2? Yes. Should LVN be better in year 2? Yes. Enagbare better in year 3? Yes. I would expect the same Preston Smith. And hopefully Rashawn Gary, not coming off the ACL, should be better in 2024. And that, to me, is the big one that sets it towards 2024. Also playing in this new defense. So I think some of these younger players should improve. And I also think Rashawn Gary, just not coming off the ACL, will be much better as well. So 2024 gets the edge at edge. Linebacker, Same players, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, and Eric Wilson. Those are your three carryovers from 2023 to 2024. Devondre Campbell is gone. He's the only player from the linebacker group that is gone. And in are Tyron Hopper and Edgerrin Cooper. Now, I would say that Quay has looked better in 2024 than what I saw in 2023, but maybe ever so slightly. I would say McDuffie looks much better playing in this Jeff Hafley defense. And I would say that Eric Wilson looks like a legitimate potential base starter, where last year he was just a special teams guy. So the carryover, I would actually give a slight advantage to. Now, Devondre Campbell for Tyron Hopper and Edgerrin Cooper is a more interesting discussion. You get this veteran player that knows the defense, or at least last year's defense, and has been a first team All-Pro just a couple of years before. You're hoping that he's going to have a big 2023. He didn't, but that was your hope. Meanwhile, you've got Tyron Hopper and Edgerrin Cooper, who are unknowns. We don't exactly know what they're going to provide in 2024. They're not starters at the moment. But I think if you look at it from a talent standpoint, the 2024 group is better. They have the additional player. The returning players look better. And Devondre Campbell, even going back, we won't use the benefit of what we saw from the season. Even going back to 2022 and what we saw in camp in 2023, Devondre just looked a step slower. He did not look like himself from when he won that first team All-Pro. For all of those reasons, I'm going 2024. You're hoping the influx of Hopper and Cooper adds some speed and playmaking to this defense. And right now, the other three all look better. And Campbell just looked like still a shell of himself from where he was prior to that. So again, I'm going 2024 here as well. Corner. Jair Alexander, Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine, all crossover. So all the three of those are the same. You have Corey Ballantyne on the roster this year. You only had 4 corners on the roster last year. So that's an additional add. Corey Ballantyne was on the practice squad last year. And then the big difference, last year you had Rasul Douglas. This year you have Eric Stokes. And Stokes was on, remember, PUP to start the year last year. And never was able to get back. Really, he played a couple games towards the end of the year, but was not himself, was really working off some rust from being out for so long. This is an interesting one. Now, again, we can't use the benefit of hindsight here. So Jair, we were expecting to be really good last year. We're expecting him to be really good this year. Keyshawn, we didn't know really what you would get in the slot out of Keyshawn as a full-time player. This year, we have a little bit better idea, but I would still call that pretty much a toss-up. Carrington Valentine, I would actually say I was maybe a little bit more excited about Carrington in 2023 than I was in 2024, mostly because we just haven't seen Carrington Valentine lately. He's been out injured. So I will still call that one a toss-up, although I do expect and hope that Valentine can take a small step in 2024. Valentine is nice to have on the roster, but remember, he was on the practice squad last year, so they could and did call him up when needed, and eventually, obviously, he made it to the roster. So this really comes down to, would you rather have 2023 Rasul Douglas or 2024 Eric Stokes? I've really liked what I've seen out of Eric Stokes so far. I think he looks back like himself. He looks like a starter. His speed is there. His strength is there. He's got everything, but I'm going to go with 2023 Rasul Douglas on this one. He came in. Camp was awesome last year. Started the season strong. I know he ended up traded, obviously, but I would go, with the more proven and known player that I think Rasul was in 2023. It's close. Could you make an argument for 2024 here? I think you could, but I think with Rasul, I just give a slight nod to the 2023 version. And then safety is just laughable. It is absolutely laughable. What if I told you last year too, the only safety that would be on the roster for both years was Zane Anderson? If Zane Anderson got released and they, just kept 4 safeties, they would have completely made over the entire room. But Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, Jonathan Owens, Anthony Johnson Jr., Dallin Levitt, and Zane Anderson were the 6 safeties that were on the roster last year. They're not going to miss any of those guys. I mean, Anthony Johnson Jr. might be the player that they missed the most, and they had the opportunity to keep him, and they released him. And of course, Zane Anderson's your carryover. New for Green Bay, Xavier McKinney, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, Katano Ladapo. We don't even need to break this one down. It is laughable how much better the 2024 version is. I've said this all offseason. It might be the most improved positional group in the entire NFL. That's how good I think the improvement might be. Maybe quarterback in Atlanta, going from Desmond Ridder to Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. That's a pretty decent upgrade just because it was so bad last year. But still, there's not many position groups in the NFL that you could make an argument for that have made that big of an upgrade. And, Rudy Ford's not on a team right now. Jonathan Owens is a backup in Chicago. Anthony Johnson Jr. is a backup in New York. Dallin Levitt's not on a team. Darnell Savage will start for Jacksonville. Even still, I know some of those guys are still hanging around and whatnot, but this is a massive, massive improvement in 2024. So on the defensive side of things, defensive line, slight win for 2024. Edge, slight win for 2024, mostly due to Rashawn not being or coming off of an injury. Linebacker, I would say slight win for 2024. Corner, slight win for 2023. And safety, massive win for 2024. As far as specialists goes, kicker, who knows? This is just a coin flip. We're going to break it even here. Anders Carlson, we didn't know what to expect going into 2023. Braden Narvison, we don't know what to expect going into 2024. So neither probably ideal situations, but both of them are just complete unknowns. Daniel Whalen, I would argue a slight edge to 2024 just because, again, he's a little bit more known, a little bit more reps and experience, but that's basically even status. And then long snapper Matt Orzik to Matt Orzik, even there as well. So no real changes on the specialty side of things. Other notes, last year on the PUP list was Eric Stokes. On IR designated to return was Luke Tenuta, and some key practice squad players included Bo Melton, Patrick Taylor, and Corey Ballantyne. This year, no PUP list players, one IR designated to return, Jonathan Ford, and maybe one key special teams guy, Robert Rochelle. It's tough. A lot of I think what they were hoping to be key special teams guys got picked up by other teams. So it's a little bit on the lighter side right now, but I do think Robert Rochelle could be somebody that comes in and helps the team at some point this season. All right, so what do you think? 2023 Packers or 2024? There's not many of these that you can make the argument for 2023. Maybe running back, right? Maybe offensive line if you're including Bakhtiari in it. Maybe corner, Rasul over Eric Stokes. I think that's it. I think those are the only three that you could say maybe 2023 is better. There are no groups in which you can say definitively, yep, 2023 was much better than this group. And you could, I think, even running back, you can make the argument for 2024. I think offensive line, if you take Bakhtiari out, for sure you make the argument for 2024. Even with him, I think you could make maybe a slight one, but it probably just leans 2023. And then, corner, I think you could make an argument for 2024 there, especially with this new Jeff Hafley defense. So every way you look at it, it is almost impossible to make an argument that the 2023 roster would be better, which is what we would have expected going into this conversation. But it is very apparent that Green Bay has done a very nice job of continuing to develop the talent that they already had on this team, keeping the right players on the roster, and then bringing in some fresh new faces like a Josh Jacobs, a Marshawn Lloyd, obviously some of the offensive linemen like Jordan Morgan and Jacob Monk, Tyron Hopper, Edgerrin Cooper, Eric Stokes coming back is huge. Xavier McKinney, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, and then we'll see what happens with Braden Narvison as well. But I think Goody's done a really nice job of upgrading this roster in some key places. They should get better just by the fact that these guys have played a lot more snaps and are a lot more experienced. And it should be a roster that, if you're looking at it on paper, and games are not played on paper, this is a team that went to the divisional round and gave the 49ers in San Fran all they can handle and probably should have won the game. And now they have even better team in 2024. That should give everyone a lot of reason for optimism and excitement as we get ready for Packers Eagles on Friday and a 2024 campaign that has all the right in the world to be an insanely fun season. That is going to do it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, give those 5-star reviews. And of course, check out those Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube memberships as well. A lot of great content out there for members, including extra Q&As, extra content, or extra videos, I should say. Access to the Pick'em pool that all members are, given access to. So definitely now is a phenomenal time to become a Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube member. That's going to do it for me for now. But until next time, and as always, go Pack-O.